Welcome, everyone, to our quarterly POC update. I'm Diane Stover, Director of the statewide Protect Ohio Children Coalition. We're grateful to have you with us today. Following our live speaker panel, we will share a recorded update from Marcia Metzger, who could not be with us today. And then following her message, we'll open up the floor for questions, which you may submit using the Q&A icon at the bottom of your Zoom screen. So let's begin with John Stover, President of Ohio Value Voters.
Thank you, Diane. Let me just say a little bit about Ohio Value Voters for those that are with us today. You can go to our website. It's ohiovaluevoters.org. We are a 501c4 organization. Part of the job that we do within Ohio Value Voters is endorse candidates, and we try to stay on top of legislation that's taking place primarily in Columbus. And, one of the things that I wanted to talk about today are three pieces of legislation. And these are pieces of legislation that are important. It's not inclusive of everything that we're watching. We have a number of pieces of legislation that we are keeping track of, but one of those that we've been working on for a while is House Bill 172. Let me just give you a little bit of background on House Bill 172. It was a bill to repeal in its entirety Ohio Revised Code 5122.04. And I would urge those that are watching today to go to whatever search engine you use and just key in ORC 5122.04. And this has been on the books for about 37 years. It's a very, very anti-parental rights piece of law. Actually, it's not legislation, but law that we are looking at not repealing with House Bill 172, but we have had a couple of hearings in the House Health Committee, and the committee chair, along with the sponsor, Representative Newman, we pretty much have decided that we need to amend the current language of this law. And once again, I urge you to take a look at it. This is also being used by the governor's office as it relates to his Ohio Department of Health. He has a program that he put in place roughly March of last year. That's the Mobile Response Stabilization Service. It's a 988 service that, in fact, a juvenile can call that is suicidal, and someone, a mental health professional, will deal with it immediately. The problem is that with the Ohio Revised Code 5122.04 law that's out there, is that a parent could be in a position where they never learn that their child is suicidal. And this is wrong. This is why we are working on this bill. Another bill that we're working on is a Senate Bill 174. And this has to do with reforming the laws as relates to the custodial of parents' rights. This is a 422-page bill that was passed by the Senate with all Democrats voting for it. The issue that we have found in the past at Ohio Value Voters, anytime you have the Democrats, either in the House or Senate, voting in, this is all Democrats. Only two Republicans voted against this bill, and that was the State Senator Christine Rogner and State Senator Michelle Reynolds. But anytime that you have all Democrats voting for a bill, we need to look at it very, very close. And there are some real concerns that we have with this bill. I have had an opportunity to speak with Speaker Huffman. Just for those, once again, to know the process of a bill, it was introduced in the Senate. It passed through committee in the Senate. It went to the Senate floor, passes on the Senate floor. It gets sent to the House. And now it's residing in the Judiciary Committee of the House. And in conversations with Speaker Huffman, I made him aware of the fact that Ohio Value Voters, along with those that support our organization, have some grave concerns regarding this current bill that's being considered now in the House. We also have contacted Liberty Counsel. Liberty Counsel, they have actually come out in opposition to the bill as well. And Matt Staver, who is the chief legal officer of Liberty Counsel, about 3 months ago, he was testifying before the Maine Supreme Court on behalf of a mother whose child the courts forced to not attend Sunday school, not attend church. She couldn't take her child to any religious organization setting, and that was the court that ordered it. And this is the type of thing that this bill could, in fact, result in. So this is why we're certainly opposed to Senate Bill 174. And the last bill I wanted to talk briefly, and that is House Bill 583. This is a very, very good bill that Representative Kevin Ritter has in fact sponsored. It's a bill that's going to deal with the issues that we are facing here relative to the digital age and what children are being exposed to. You know, this was roughly 4 years ago. I went to testify before the State Board of Education regarding Info Ohio. And Info Ohio is a database organization that is state funded that provides research for children. It's in elementary and high school, as even college students. The primary concern that we found was that Info Ohio provided the means where an elementary student, it could be a child in the third, fourth, fifth grade, had access to Pornhub after roughly 4 to 5 clicks. If they knew where they were going, they could get to Pornhub. And there was just a lot of material out there that would certainly be considered X-rated. And what this bill will do, it will place the responsibility within the Attorney General's office to enforce this law. So this is another law that we're looking at supporting, and hopefully we can get this through the General Assembly this year, and it does become law. The Attorney General of the state of Ohio will be responsible for enforcing these standards, and we need to be holding these individuals responsible for the material that they're putting out there on these databases and this online data that children have access to. So these are some of the bills that we're working on. As I say, it's not all inclusive. And I want to state my thanks for what I'm going to announce here shortly and hand it over to Linda Harvey of Mission America. But she also has provided an immense amount of help and assistance in some of these bills that we're working on. So with that, let me turn it over to Linda Harvey, Mission America. Thank you.
Thank you, John. I'm going to talk a little bit about some more pieces of legislation, and just want to make a note that if you want to dive into a lot of these issues, be sure to go to protectohiochildren.net. There's a lot of information and updates on all of this. There's of course, the school heat map where you can find out what's going on in your specific school district, which is an invaluable tool. But also go to missionamerica.com, our website, where I write articles about not all of the issues I'm going to talk about, but quite a few of them. So you can get some information there as well. But recently, I gave written testimony on Senate Bill 87, which would add anti-Semitism to our ethnic intimidation law in Ohio, which I think we're seeing so many more incidents of anti-Semitism, and also that kind of attitude in our schools. We really need to have so much more attention to understanding that it's not simply neo-Nazis and skinheads. Anti-Semitism is becoming very popular on the left among progressive circles, and it's part of DEI even to be anti-Israel, anti-Jewish. We need to monitor that and support efforts to crack down on that, because that really has an impact on the schools. Also, I gave written testimony on Senate Bill 310, which is the companion bill to the Baby Olivia Video Act in the House. And 310 adds the requirement for schools to give fetal development instruction. And that would give videos like Baby Olivia, or there are others out there, I'm sure, that are accurate, giving children a chance to see the development of a baby. And I think that will go a long way toward the realization that abortion does kill a human life, and that, having parenthood in your future is a wonderful thing to both save until marriage, but also there are many kids that are today thinking, I never want to be a parent. And then they get to their, into their 20s and 30s, and they may change their mind. We need to start developing that appreciation for human life earlier. I'm also starting, and we're all going to be pitching in on this, I believe, an awareness campaign about 2 petition drives that are going on right now that will affect all sorts of issues in Ohio, including the schools. There are 2 petition drives on 2 LGBTQ quote unquote issues. One is to repeal the one man, one woman language that is in our Ohio Constitution and legally allow same-sex marriage. And maybe people didn't know that wasn't already repealed. It's still in our Constitution in Ohio. And the reason, excuse me, this petition drive is going around is there are some genuine fears on the part of the left and hopes on the part of the right and conservatives that Obergefell, which is the Ohio plaintiff whose name is attached to the same-sex marriage Supreme Court case in 2015 that legalized it. Well, when that went down, came out in 2015, all of these state votes on one man, one woman marriage became dormant, and ours in Ohio did. It passed in 2004. 62% of Ohioans said yes, marriage is one man, one woman. Well, guess what? The liberal-dominated Supreme Court in 2015 said, no. We've somehow found somewhere in the Constitution, and of course it's not there, a right to homosexuality as marriage. And so there's a group that's circulating a petition to put that on the ballot, that same-sex marriage is, well, essentially repealing the one man, one woman language. The other petition they're circulating, and so our awareness campaign is, do not sign these petitions. And if they get their over 400,000 signatures and they're verified and it's on the November ballot, you got to get your people out to vote. This is a huge, big deal. We can't have this happen. The second issue is an broad spectrum, equal rights issue. And what they're saying is they want equal rights for, and here's the laundry list of categories. Excuse me. Race, color, religion, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, that's the main issue here. Pregnancy status, disease status, age, disability, recovery status, familial status, ancestry, national origin, or military and veteran status. Now, we already have anti-discrimination laws on the books in Ohio for many of these, not sexual orientation and gender identity. But some of these others could be morphed into supporting illegal immigration, for instance. Anyway, we have to not support these petitions, not vote if they do get this on the ballot, and it will have a big impact on the schools. The other thing is that there's recently announcement of a national campaign called Greater Than, which is a play on the Human Rights Campaign's equal sign. This is many, many pro-family organizations around the country and a few in our state to try to encourage the overturning of the Obergefell same-sex marriage. And it's based on Katie Faust's book, Them Before Us, which is about putting the needs of children first. And so I urge you to just keep up with that campaign. I think it could play into these November ballot issues. I don't know what they're planning at this point, but it's something to keep your eye on and pass along the word to not support either of these 2 petitions. Quick word on a couple of other bills that have just been introduced, haven't had a chance to look in great depth. One is, I believe it's 693, prohibiting the loss of custody by parents or foster parents over disagreement, not approving of LGBTQ behaviors in your children. And I think this is a wonderful parental rights bill. The other one is just coming out, 671, defunding schools. They would at least withhold funding for a time. And there's over 300 school districts in Ohio that have done this. The school districts that have signed on to the anti-voucher, anti-ed choice lawsuits, they're spending school district money to prevent parents from having the right to choose to have vouchers. I mean, that's ridiculous. As many of you will agree with that. I don't know much more about it at this point. It's just been introduced. So, sorry about my voice. With that, I will introduce Darby Bodie.
All right, thank you so much, everyone. That was very thorough information on legislation. So my name is Darby Bodie. I am on the board of Protect Ohio Children, and I represent the southern part of Ohio. And I'm going to share my screen. This is the first time I'm really doing something like this, so excuse me if we have any blips. But let me see, is that... There we go. Okay. So my name is Darby Bodie, obviously, and I will be discussing socialism and communism in today's education. But I think before we make these claims, we need to define these words. And so socialism is a political and economic philosophy centered on the idea that the economy should be organized to benefit society as a whole, rather than primarily private individuals or corporations. And this looks like big government taking from those who have and giving to those who have not. Government provides free education and healthcare and other things, even like grocery stores and bus rides. And they believe that the government is God. And so socialists in office generally create policies that lead to communism. And communism is a political and economic ideology based on the idea of creating a classless society where property, resources, and means of production like factories, land, and businesses are owned collectively. Now, that's a word, again, collectively, that we need to remember. And this is not, owned by private individuals. So no local control. State ownership of industries, own nothing and be happy, and then planned economics where the prices are set by the government instead of a free market, which is supply and demand. So I'm going to show you some communist leaders whose quotes regard collectivism and state control. So in Russia, Joseph Stalin said the individual is nothing, the collective is everything. In Italy, Benito Mussolini said, all in the state, nothing outside the state, nothing against the state. And then Mao Zedong in China said, the interests of the individual must be subordinate to the interests of the collective. Again, there's that word collective. But wait a minute, that was years ago. That can't be happening in today's society, right? Well, just recently, the New York mayor Zohran Mamdani stated, we will replace rugged individuality. Hold on, I need to go back to that. I can't see that with that screen. We will replace the frigidity of rugged individualism with the warmth of collectivism. All right, so the Communist Manifesto, what is that? That is a pamphlet of rules on how to really focus on driving this communist agenda. And so the manifesto's vision of education focuses on state control and the replacement of family-based upbringing with socialized state-directed education. And how was this practiced? In the Soviet Union, schools were used to promote state ideology, with children encouraged to report on parents and curricula that emphasize loyalty to the state over family values. And we see this in social emotional learning and how it molds these children away from their Judeo-Christian values into a worldview that promotes sexual ideology, pro-abortion agendas, and more. And this is all funded by the state government for the greater good. The Hungarian Soviet Republic in 1919, educators introduced radical sexual education and anti-family teachings, aiming to dismantle the traditional family structure. And we see that today with the attack on families. And then the Frankfurt School in the 1960s, thinkers like Herbert Marcuse linked family structures to authoritarianism, contributing to a broader cultural shift towards questioning traditional family roles. Again, like we spoke about, attacking them, only a man and a woman can get married, replacing the language of mom and dad, replacing the word mother with birthing parent, alluding to boys can get pregnant. And then as I discovered in my local school district, the policies for our local school district removed the words he and she. So and then today, the modern day progressive education policies, they are outcome-based education in state-funded public schools. And these are ideological extensions of the manifesto's call for socialized education that indoctrinates children into these collectivist values. So I'm not sure if you've heard of the NEA, but the NEA is the National Education Association. They are the largest labor union in the United States, and there's roughly 2.8 to 3 million people that belong to the NEA. In the early 2020s, more than 5,000 NEA members vowed to teach critical race theory, even if it was banned. And then the OEA, which is the Ohio Education Association, is a branch off of the NEA, and then that even branches off into local school districts. And my school district, Lakota, is the LEA, Lakota Education Association. So if you go to the NEA's website, their mission, vision, and values, you will see that number 6 says collective action. We believe individuals are strengthened when they work together for the common good. As education professionals, we improve both our professional status and the quality of public education when we unite and advocate collectively. And then some more examples regarding the NEA fueling the transformation of affiliate organization capacity. So they're wanting to grow state and local affiliates for more control. And this is a collective action, agenda driving power. We also have advanced racial justice and social justice, which is another conversation. But again, they're talking about a collective action with this agenda. So the NEA is framing public education as a common good and collective responsibility essential for democracy, equity, and justice. And in trainings on the website and even people who have snuck into these trainings, they see that collective action is promoted to address systemic issues like racial injustice and partnerships seen as vital for the common good. And the thing with that is the NEA is who decides what the common good is, not the parent. So what does this really mean? Well, the NEA thinks that they should serve broader social goals, not only academic instruction. They think that all things like mental health services, social work, counseling, food, access to abortions, access to healthcare, everything besides the quality education they are expected to receive, our students are expected to receive in public education should be the responsibility of the NEA, not the parents. And here is Rebecca Pringle, the NEA president, talking about this at one of their meetings. Oops, there we go. She sounds a little unhinged, doesn't she? Well, education, the NEA also believes that education outcomes are the responsibility of groups and systems, not primarily the parents, and that problems in education are caused by structures, not personal choices by the students or the families showing a lack of accountability. This is also a coordinated effort for that education should be from teachers, unions, administrators, advocacy groups, and sometimes students, like peer-to-peer programs like Hope Strength and Hope Squad, but these all exclude the parents. And then they push an equity-based framework, which means taking away from those who have, like the honor students and the AP students, and giving these resources to underperforming minorities based on the color of their skin and creating equal outcomes. So if you remember, I mentioned the Frankfurt schools in Marcuse from the 1960s. These schools were designed to divide families through conflict, not focused on unity, but designed to divide and conquer the society and the community. So they stated that nothing can be stable, even your identity, and I'm gonna move this out of the way. Identity and created unstable ground underneath the children to easily manipulate them. And so they focus on rejecting these fixed identity categories, which we see clearly today, removing that clear parent and child boundary where the child or the parent is the authority. Questioning the heritage. Are you a land stealer? Are you oppressor? And then they make the children the victims and they remove the support of the nuclear family structure. So the NEA today mainly pushes the queering of public education, not how to improve education, but the queering of public education. And they provide LGBTQ training and resources for educators. They also encourage educators and districts to address bias around sexual orientation and gender identity, attacking the traditional male and female roles in the nuclear unit. I mean, they even have books of, two moms or two dads in the classroom pushing this agenda. And they recommend these things to their teachers, and they provide training on how to talk about gender and sexual identity in ways that focus on social justice and not education. And they also talk about how to hide these things from the parents of the student. So the Queering of America agenda by the NEA emphasizes the use of pronouns for your identification, replacing that typical language that we've known for thousands of years, like he and she and him and her, and they replace them with them, theirs, it. And then they have these neo pronouns, and they, them, zers. I think I pronounced this right. Fave, fair, furs, z's or zers, with no gender expression at all. So they totally remove your gender. And that stable ground that God created, whether you are a male or a female. And this creates division and conflict by rejecting these social norms. So the communist goal is to divide and control, creating these weak-minded children that can be easily manipulated and created into socialist robots who will do what they want, which ultimately is vote for socialist leaders who can control America. And so the last slide I have is some data points. This is Bridget Gabriel. She's from the Middle East, and she has been studying a lot of this stuff that we're talking about, communism and socialism. So some data points to think on, and I got these from actforamerica.org. 76 Islamic communists ran for elected positions in 2025. 42 communists won. We have 6 communist mayors, 20 communist city council commissioner seats, 4 state communist legislators, 2 judges, and 6 communist board members. And so communism is here, folks. And I pass this along to Diane. Thank you so much. Diane, you're on mute.
Okay, great job.